If you look at the history of BMW Motorrad, you'll find a lineup full of premium motorcycles with a loyal following and a strong reputation. That legacy continues today, whether it's the R18 Transcontinental or the M1000RR. The company continues to produce some of the most premium motorcycles you can own. But the reality is, premium isn't what sells. With newer riders looking for more approachable and inexpensive bikes, it's the entry and mid-range models that the market demands. In 2017, BMW fixed that gap in their lineup by introducing the G310R. Powered by a 34 horsepower single engine, the G310R is an affordable entry point into the BMW Motorrad brand. For the 2021 model year, BMW updated the small package with some premium features. So in today's video, we're going to take the 2021 BMW G310R for a ride and see what it has to offer. Before we begin, I'd like to give a huge shout out to Motorcycles of Charlotte in Charlotte, North Carolina, for letting us spend some time with this 2021 BMW G310R. Motorcycles of Charlotte has a great lineup of new and used motorcycles, including BMW, Ducati, and Triumph. So if you're in the market for a new motorcycle, definitely check out the folks at Motorcycles of Charlotte. The G310R is the product of a partnership between BMW and TVS Motor Company of India. The bike was primarily designed in Germany and manufactured in India. The 2021 model received a new LED headlight, turn signals, and adjustable brake and clutch levers. The bike looks aggressive, relying heavily on the larger S1000R for inspiration. In terms of appearance, the 310R also receives titanium gray paint for the engine housings, footrest, and grab handles. With the single R designation, the 310R is a naked roadster-style motorcycle. BMW also makes an adventure version of this bike called the G310GS. Having very little fairings means the frame and engine are all mostly exposed. For the fairings that do exist, new paint schemes were also introduced in 2021. The changes carry over for the 2022 model year, with another round of new paint options being the only difference. This bike is painted in polar white. All the aesthetic upgrades are welcome, but the updates do go deeper than that. To meet Euro 5 regulations, the 313cc power plant has been massaged. Throttle-by-wire, automatic low RPM increase, and an anti-hopping clutch have all been added. The 313cc dual overhead cam liquid cooled single continues to make 34 horsepower at 9,250 RPM and 20.6 pound-feet of torque at 7,500 RPM. Sometimes electronic throttles can be a bit twitchy, but BMW did a great job making the throttle on and throttle off characteristics of the G310R feel natural. While you won't be keeping up with the 600 next to you at the stoplight, the 310R does well to get up to speed and offers good power throughout most of its rev range. Keeping the throttle open all the way to its 10,500 RPM redline isn't necessary to get the most out of this bike. 0 to 60 can happen in around 7 seconds, and the quarter mile can be reached in about 16 seconds. BMW markets the G310R as a great city bike, and with the aid of the low RPM assist, new riders should find it easy and enjoyable to sprint around any urban environment. The clutch pedal is light and shifting up and down through the gears never feels clunky. But if you do find yourself shifting down a bit too quickly, the slipper clutch does well to keep you out of trouble. With only 34 horsepower on tap, you will quickly find that the thrust is lacking once you gain more experience on the bike. The large factory exhaust is quiet, meaning most of the noise you will hear from the G310R will come from the front intake. It's an interesting sensation for those used to louder exhaust. The power plant can become quite buzzy if you take it to redline, but there's no need to rev it that high as I mentioned earlier. You can shift at a more reasonable 7,500 to 8,000 RPM and still get the most out of this bike. I didn't find too much harshness or vibration otherwise while riding the 310R. The proportions of the G310R also make it an easy bike to maneuver. It weighs a very manageable 362 pounds, so lifting the bike off the kickstand or pushing it in and out of parking spaces is simple to do. The seat height is 30.9 inches, and the location of the foot pegs and handlebars create a very comfortable riding position for my 5'9" frame. BMW also offers different seat heights to make getting on and off the 310R even easier. Supporting the G310R is a 5.2-inch monoshock in the rear with preload adjustment, and a 41mm upside-down fork with no adjustability up front. I found the setup to be very well dampened. Around town and on back roads, the suspension had no problem keeping up with whatever was thrown at it. The upside-down fork was a great addition at this price range. The 17-inch wheels are wrapped in a 110/70 Michelin up front and a 150/60 in the rear. The tires aren't the stickiest, but they do provide good traction throughout most of the year, rain or shine. The brakes are provided by Vibri and feature a 4-piston radial caliper up front that grips a single 300mm disc. The front brake offers enough braking power for around-town riding, but the feedback isn't the best when pushed hard. A bit of lever travel is required before the brakes completely bite, but that could be a good thing if you're still learning to ride to help prevent you from grabbing too much brakes and overwhelming the front tire. The rear brake is a single piston caliper with a 240mm rotor. I found it relatively easy to engage ABS when applying a solid amount of rear braking. Overall, I thought the combination of the single-cylinder engine and well-balanced suspension provided an excellent riding experience. There were even times while I was cruising around that the G310R felt as stable and planted as bikes costing twice the price. The layout of all the buttons and switches on the handlebars are where you would expect them. If you've ever been on a BMW motorcycle, they will look quite familiar. You have controls for the ignition and start-stop switch on the right, and you have controls for the lights and turn signals on the left. The LCD screen is clear and provides all the information you would expect. And you can use the key to remove the single-piece seat to access the battery and tools. At 2.9 gallons, it doesn't take much to fill up the gas tank, and with enough throttle discipline, the G310R can get over 65 miles per gallon. The G310R is built for new riders and those who spend a lot of their time maneuvering city traffic. With the great design, standard ABS, a very competent suspension, and a reasonable single-cylinder engine, the G310R also provides enough characteristics for some fun outside of city limits. BMW still has one of the best lineups of premium bikes, and the 310R proves the company can also build a great entry-level motorcycle. In India, where the G310R is assembled, BMW has seen over 100% growth in the last year. That growth is due primarily to the popularity of the G310R. In 2020, of the 5,000 motorcycles BMW sold in India, 4,500 of them were the 310R and GS. Considering the wants and needs of the entry-level sub-500cc market as a whole, the G310R is a superb little machine that has plenty of BMW quality and the company's knack for engineering. So if you're in the market for a small, inexpensive bike with sporty characteristics, the BMW G310R is undoubtedly worth checking out. Thanks for watching, and thanks again to Motorcycles of Charlotte. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. You can also find us on Instagram at rideXdrive.